Who should you bet on in prime time this week? Welcome, football fans, gridiron gamblers, and every last one of you degenerates. It's Mitch here with my prime time picks for NFL Week 13. And of course, Week 13, it's a special week in the NFL. It's Thanksgiving week in the NFL. So, we have 4 primetime games. I'm not going to break down the earlier games on Thanksgiving because I've already put out 2 different videos talking about those games, and I'll once again talk about them on Wednesday with my full and final NFL Week 13 picks. But today, I want to discuss the primetime game on Thursday night, the Bengals and the Ravens, the Black Friday football matchup, the Bears and the Eagles, and then Sunday night and Monday night football, Broncos, Commanders, Patriots, Giants. So if that sounds good and you're ready for my spread pick and my total pick for every primetime game in Week 13, Gronk, spike the like button and subscribe for more NFL picks and best bets every week on Money Mitch. It's time to make some money. Let's go, guys. Let's kick it off with the Cincinnati Bengals, the Baltimore Ravens, Thanksgiving primetime Thursday night football. The total is 52. The Ravens are favored by 7 at home. And I discussed this game yesterday, leading off with Joe Burrow's return. Joe Burrow is back. It's official. He will be playing against the rival Ravens in Baltimore. Now, we do know already that T. Higgins is out and Trey Hendrickson is out. 2 of the 4 best players on the Bengals will not play against the Ravens. But Jamar Chase is back from suspension. Mike Gesicki returned last week, and that's also pretty influential on their offense, specifically when you look at last season without T. Higgins and how Gesicki performed with Joe Burrow within the offense. He did a really good job of replacing that production. So I do think that's pretty big. We've got to talk about how the Bengals have improved defensively since their bye week the last couple of weeks. Chase Brown has been running the football well, but also there's some murkiness when it comes to, is Lamar Jackson 100%? I think we clearly know that Lamar Jackson is not 100%. Now, will Lamar Jackson play on Thursday? I would be absolutely shocked if Lamar Jackson did not play in this spot, because this game is critical in the Ravens' ability to win this division. I know that the Steelers are falling apart, but this game is absolutely critical for the Ravens. So, we're going to pull up the injury report just in case I'm missing anything. But I look at the Bengals and I first ask the question, and this is where it's difficult, right? Is we ask the question about, can the Bengals win this game with a rusty Joe Burrow? Will Joe Burrow be rusty at all? We don't really know. Now, we do know that Joe Burrow has not performed well at the beginning of seasons, typically. And he has not played since week 2, I want to say, with the turf toe injury, which also has seemingly affected Brock Purdy quite a bit. We saw Brock Purdy last night on Monday Night Football throw 3 interceptions. Now, Brock Purdy has kind of been throwing interceptions for the last year and a half, so that might just be a Brock Purdy thing, but the toe is the similar injury to what Joe Burrow does have. So I think that's pretty important to bring up. Typically, the Bengals offense has moved the ball really well against the Baltimore Ravens. Typically, they've been able to score points against the Baltimore Ravens. We have an update as of Tuesday on this injury report. Kyle Hamilton and 3 other starters returned to practice ahead of Thursday night. Lamar Jackson as well, of course. So, yeah, again, I'd be shocked if Lamar didn't play. Kyle Hamilton was one that I was kind of concerned about. We talked about it yesterday where we kind of thought, John Harbaugh was saying, okay, he's probably going to play. He's a tough guy. He got a bit banged up. It's not a serious injury. But Kyle Hamilton is highly impactful. He's probably the most important player on their defense. He can basically do everything between play the nickel spot, play the safety spot. He basically is an edge defender in this defense as well. Rashad Bateman are also practicing. He missed the last 2 games, which has been pretty important because the Ravens' passing game has not looked the same. A lot of that does come down to Lamar Jackson. Okay, so it does appear that the Ravens are pretty healthy. It appears that they're almost as healthy as they've been since very early in the year. Of course, their pass rush hasn't been the same without Justin Madubuike. They've gotten a bit of a spark from Draymond Jones since that trade from Tennessee, I believe it was. He's played pretty well for them. Marlon Humphrey's healthy. Kyle Hamilton's healthy. Roquan Smith is healthy. Nate Wiggins is healthy. Their back end, their secondary is completely healthy. The Bengals, though, defensively, I thought they played admirably against the Patriots. They played well in the red zone. They played better against the run the last couple of games. I also think against Pittsburgh, they held Pittsburgh essentially to 13 offensive points, and they held the Patriots to 19 offensive points. The Steelers scored 2 defensive touchdowns, and the Patriots scored 1. Joe Flacco, right? Kind of a disaster the last couple of weeks with how injured and beat up he has been, and maybe a little bit solved the last couple of weeks in this offense. I want to say that I think the Ravens will win. I think 7 is a little dicey just because this is a rivalry game. There's the unknown of Joe Burrow. But if I were to lean either way with the unknown of Joe Burrow, I'd kind of lean towards the negative for Joe Burrow here. I would lean towards, is he truly ready? Is he going to be good in this game? I'm not so sure. No T. Higgins, no Trey Hendrickson. The Ravens should be able to run the football down the Bengals' throat pretty consistently. The Bengals have been really rough against the run all year. Now, like I did bring up, I think they've been a bit better. But the Patriots struggle to run the football. The Steelers are kind of up and down running the football. Derrick Henry is a much bigger task. The Bengals are really rough against tight ends. Hunter Henry had over 100 yards last week, okay? And the Ravens have 2 tight ends they can throw the football to, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews. Rashad Bateman is back, so that's another threat to get vertical down the field. Zay Flowers, you've got to account for probably with DJ Turner. So if we take away Zay Flowers, we've got the run game. We've got the tight ends. Lamar probably can't really move that well, but does he really need to be able to here? There's no Trey Hendrickson, not a great pass rush. It's at home. It's not in Cincinnati. I kind of think the Ravens are the lean. I kind of think the Ravens -7 is the pick. As much as I'd like to see the Bengals compete here and make this one really competitive, I think when you break it down and you're being totally unbiased and you're looking at the landscape of the Ravens and their health on defense, specifically in their secondary, I think the Ravens should win this game and they should cover this game. They should. They should. Now, maybe I'm not quite understanding the health of Lamar Jackson, and I didn't think that the Ravens looked great against the Jets. I actually liked the Jets with the points in that game. I liked the under in that game, as I discussed last week. We were pretty accurate on that, but we also liked some things about how the Jets matched up with them, right? The Jets rushing offense, the Jets defense playing competitively, playing physically, playing tough. I'm not sure the Bengals defense is as good as the Jets defense, and they certainly don't play the same style. So I think the Ravens are the lean. In terms of the total, I think because of the status of both quarterbacks, because of the uncertainty of the health of both quarterbacks, because of the progress from the Bengals defense, because of the progress from the Ravens defense, I think the overrated elements of these games, or of this game specifically, is Lamar and Joe Burrow and how well they're going to play and how healthy they are. And I think the overrated aspects of both teams are their offenses, while I feel like both of the underrated aspects of these teams are the defenses. So I would lean under 52 here. Maybe that's crazy. It probably wouldn't be a best bet because it's the Bengals and the Ravens and how many points they scored against each other last year, their track record, And then, of course, it's Lamar and Joe Burrow against a mediocre and not very good defense. But my sense is neither of the quarterbacks are exactly 100%. And because of that, I think that the teams will have to run the ball a bit more. And I do think, situationally speaking, on third down, the Ravens aren't quite electric because Lamar can't move the same. Joe Burrow probably won't have that same ability as well. And then in the red zone, I kind of feel like both defenses could tighten up as they've been doing the last couple of weeks. So that could lead to field goals and not touchdowns. So I think what I'm looking at here is the under 52 and the Ravens -7. I could see like a 30-20 game, something like that. 27-17. Like 31-21, somewhere around that range. I kind of feel like that's where it's going to land. Maybe even 28-20, that sort of deal. So I'm going to take the under 52 because of the quarterbacks. I'm going to take Ravens -7 because of the health, not having T. Higgins, not having Trey Hendrickson, the unknown of Joe Burrow, big deal. So I will take those two as my picks on Thursday night, Thanksgiving prime time. Friday football, we have the Philadelphia Eagles at home, still laying 7 at home. 44.5 is still the total. From what I understand, these lines have not moved, and I'm just going to refresh my book to see we're all good on this front. Okay, and of course, I am talking about this Tuesday at 2 o'clock Pacific time. I'm recording this, so if any lines move, of course, they will move for you guys. I don't have any control over that, all right? So the spread is, as I see, it's 7 for the Eagles, but it is leaning 6.5. And the total is still 44.5 with no movement whatsoever. So, as I alluded to in my picks, I had a pretty strong feeling towards Chicago in that video. And it does seem like there has been slight movement towards Chicago at 7. So, if you want Chicago, get it now. Get it as soon as possible. 44.5, I did lean towards the over, despite me not loving the Eagles' offense and loving the Eagles' defense. The kind of weird thing about this is that the Bears are a straight-up over team, and the Eagles are a straight-up under team. Both teams are going to be clashing against each other. Now, a lot of this does come down to, as I also alluded to yesterday, the injuries of the Chicago defense and who actually ends up suiting up. So that's something I'm going to look at right now. Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon did practice late last week, but from what I understand, neither of them touched the field last week against the Steelers. They were still able to come out on top. So they conducted a walkthrough on Tuesday. Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, full participants, trending towards a Week 13 return from injured reserve. Unfortunately, TJ Edwards was listed as a non-participant as he continues to deal with a hand and a hamstring. So in looking at the Bears injury report, TJ Edwards, their best linebacker, has been out for a number of weeks this year. He is out for this game, I would probably conclude. Tyreek Stevenson did not practice on Tuesday. He's a depth cornerback. Don't think he's a significant loss, but if Kyler Gordon or Jalen Johnson don't play, he is a big loss because that only impacts it even more. Otherwise, Noah Sewell didn't participate. He is their third linebacker, so they could be down 2 of their 3 linebackers. I also believe they might have put Tremaine Edmonds, their other linebacker, on IR. I'm going to look up that information just in case, but I feel like they did. I'm going to confirm that. Yes, so they put him on IR 2 days ago. So they don't have any linebackers. That's not great, but I do think their corners are more important against the Eagles because A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, every time the Eagles have been a potent offense, those have been the guys that have led them to success. Chicago is not a good run defense as it stands, and the Eagles are not a good run offense. Weird to say, but they're really not. The wild card here is, can the Eagles run the ball better against Chicago than they have most of the year? The only real game I can recall where the Eagles ran the ball successfully was against the Giants. And the Giants are the worst run defense in football, period. It's really the only team I feel like the Eagles have been able to run the ball against. The Eagles, I also think, because of Chicago's lack of pass rush, will have a lot of time to throw the ball. So Jalen Hurts should have a lot of time. He should have openings over the middle of the field, which I'll also say Jalen Hurts does not do a good job of attacking the middle of the field. But linebackers, no linebackers, there should be vacated areas for you to hit. The thing is, the Eagles, they have these slumps throughout games where they go 2, 3 drives, 4 drives, 5 drives against Dallas, where they punt. So it's like, it's hard to rely on this offense, but they seem to start games pretty well. And if Chicago is in chase mode, that might be the way to push this over the total. When we look at Philadelphia's injury report, Lane Johnson is obviously critical, understanding if he's going to play or not. He did not play against the Cowboys, of course, and Adoree Jackson got hurt late in the game. So I don't think Adoree Jackson is going to play in this game. He is their perimeter corner number 2, and their corner assignments would be Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean would slide outside, and Michael Carter would take the nickel. That makes them more susceptible, I think, in the middle of the field because Cooper DeJean is removed from the middle of the field. That also makes them weaker on the outside because Cooper DeJean, in my opinion, is not a great nickel or is not a great perimeter corner. He's a very good nickel. I think he might be the best in the NFL. Andrew Makuba also had surgery, a starting safety out of Texas, second-round pick, I believe. He had surgery, so that's not good. So they're going to have to look at their safety depth as well. That's critical. So that really does hurt them. So they have multiple injuries in the secondary. I'm trying to find their official injury report here before I give you anything here. But as my initial lean, I still lean towards the Bears. And the primary bet for the Bears is I'm betting on their coaching staff, Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen. I think they are significantly better coaches than Nick Sirianni. I really love Vic Fangio, but I think Ben Johnson is going to give Vic Fangio all he can handle. I still can't find an injury report for the Eagles. Are you kidding me? Okay. Bears have an injury report out, but I don't see anything for the Eagles. But basically, Makuba, Adoree Jackson, Lane Johnson. I think that's kind of what we're looking at here. I don't really know of anyone else that could possibly be injured. Let me check their depth chart. Lane Johnson, yeah, Makuba, Blankenship. Okay, Blankenship's in red on our lads, so Blankenship is another safety. So they could be dealing with some safety injuries. So a lot of secondary injuries. And then again, the Bears linebacker injuries. So we have cluster injuries for these teams potentially. So I think the only way I could really look is the over because I think that Jalen Hurts will have a lot of time. I think there is the possibility the Philadelphia Eagles do run the ball well because the Bears are bad against the run, period. I mean, look at what Pittsburgh and Kenny Gainwell did to them, a former Eagle. Okay. And then A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert are still going to make a number of plays in the pass game. Even if Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson are back, they're not probably 100%. So there's still going to be those plays that are made, specifically early in the game. But then on top of that, I like the Bears +7. I think they can keep this within reach because the Eagles tend to sputter on offense. They're very simple on offense. A very good defensive coach like Dennis Allen is going to have some answers in critical moments to what the Eagles like to do. And I do think those cornerback injuries or returns do significantly help the Bears in terms of creativity in the back end of their defense. Their safeties have played really well this year as well. And then you look at the Bears can take the ball away too. So the Bears are a team that maybe they get a takeaway. Offensively, the Bears are the better running team in this game. I do think that Ben Johnson can find ways to run the football on the front of the Eagles, which is a very good front and a very good defense overall. But the Cowboys found some ways to stay balanced. I think that Ben Johnson can do the same with Monongai and Swift revenge game. The Bears have a plethora of weapons that can attack a beat-up, cluster-injured secondary when you're talking about, okay, let's just avoid Quinyon Mitchell on the outside. Rome Odunze, you're not getting any passes this game, but we can work the nickel spot if Coop DeJean is outside. If Coop DeJean's inside, we're going to work Kelly Ringo, right? We're going to work these safeties vertically down the field. And then as well, Caleb Williams is a problem when he gets outside the pocket. He doesn't take a lot of sacks or negative plays. I do think that there'll be a trick play or two coming from Ben Johnson that probably will be effective. Luther Burden and Colston Loveland are getting more involved in the offense, and they're explosive and electric. You get Luther Burden matched up with one of these backup safeties. That could be a problem. So I think there's a lot of matchups here for the Bears to stay in this game, and I just respect Ben Johnson, what he's done here. I don't love Caleb Williams, but I do think he's just as good as Jalen Hurts right now, so I don't really see a huge discrepancy in the quarterback play between the teams. So I'm going to take the +7 for Chicago on the road in a big spot to prove that they can hang with a playoff team, and then 44.5, I will take the over just because of the injuries to both teams on the defensive side of the football. Linebacker for Chicago, secondary for the Eagles. Make sure to track these injuries before you place the bet. But if you want 7, go get 7 now with the Bears. Okay, Sunday Night Football. We've got the Denver Broncos at the Washington Commanders. This is the game that I kind of need to check myself a little bit. The previous video, I talked about how Jaden Daniels would be playing this game. It appears that Jaden Daniels will not be playing this game. I was wrong about that. I just kind of assumed, I guess, that Jaden Daniels would be playing off of a bye week. I guess I had the wrong timeline in terms of his injury. Marcus Mariota, though, has played well. And Jaden Daniels really hasn't this year, outside of maybe one game, I feel like, against the Chargers. But 43.5 is the total. It's a low total, of course. It's the Broncos. The Broncos are a dead nut under team. They do not score points and they do not allow points, so it's pretty simple mathematics. When we're looking at the Broncos, I'm pretty sure the Broncos are very healthy, besides losing their running back J.K. Dobbins, which is that really a big deal? It kind of is to their run game efficiency-wise, but I feel like it's not a huge deal if they lost another player. And then Pat Surtain is a guy that I know we've been tracking in terms of returning or not. So Pat Surtain poised to return after the bye week, and Alex Singleton poised to return for Denver after the bye week. I think I like the under in this game at 43.5. If Pat Surtain is playing and Alex Singleton is playing, that means they really strengthen some of their biggest weaknesses. So Pat Surtain at corner, perimeter corner, Alex Singleton at linebacker. That will definitely help. And then Marcus Mariota at quarterback. And no J.K. Dobbins for the Broncos. Terry McLaurin could be back for this game, but Terry McLaurin also could be not 100%. I do think Terry might actually play, but he's questionable. He's limited as far as I've seen. I have him on one of my fantasy teams, unfortunately. He is limited. So we don't know 100%, but he could be back. This game is in Washington, not Denver, surprisingly, because Denver feels like they have 11 home games a year. I would lean towards taking the points with the Commanders, and I would lean towards the under. I think the under is probably the best bet out of all of these, and it's still sitting at 43.5, so you can still get that. 6.5 shaded towards 7. So wait, if you like the Commanders like I do, wait for a 7 to pop up, a full touchdown. But I kind of like the idea of a defensive grinder of a football game between two teams coming off a bye. This is not a huge game for Denver. It's not an AFC opponent. It's on the road. It could be a sleepy week where they're coming off a bye. They just beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They're feeling themselves. They're playing the Commanders without Jaden Daniels, backup quarterback. They're not taking it all that serious. Meanwhile, Commanders coaching staff, specifically Dan Quinn with his defense, it's kind of coaching for his job right now in a lot of different ways. And I thought the Commanders in Spain played much better defense against Miami, who I think is better offense than the Broncos. I think they give you more problems than the Broncos. But I do, and I just don't know what Denver does well offensively outside of fourth quarter magic and 2-minute magic. Like, I don't think they do a lot well. I think that the Commanders can match up in man-to-man coverage as they like in this game, and I do feel like they can hang around. Bo Nix is always kind of up and down and inconsistent. So I like the home team in a primetime spot to keep it close, especially if Terry McLaurin suits up. Their offensive line is pretty healthy to hold up against a really good pass rush in the Broncos. And the thing I like about Cliff is he's going to run the ball here. He's going to throw a lot of screens. He's going to try to take that pass rush and that aggression away from the Broncos. I think he's probably one of the more challenging coordinators that Vance Joseph has faced this season. So I would take the home team plus the points here, and I would like the under for sure. I think the under, I probably will end up betting the under, just because I just see like a 20-17 game. I do. 21-17 type game. So I like the under there for sure. And then Monday Night Football, we have the New York Giants traveling to New England to play my Patriots. Patriots minus 7.5. Total is 46.5. Now, I do believe Jackson Dart is slated to return in Week 13 in this game to get the start against the Patriots. I could be wrong, though. I mean, I don't really know why the Giants would be pushing for him to play necessarily, because they want him to be their franchise guy. They don't want him to push him out there too early and get him re-injured, okay? So let's check the latest update on that. But I did express why I'm concerned as a Patriots fan in this game, specifically because of the Patriots' offensive line injuries to Will Campbell and also to their left guard, Jared Wilson, both rookies, but both have played well this year. I do think Will Campbell is a significantly bigger loss, specifically in this game. Jared Wilson is fine. Like, he's a startable player. He's only like 20 years old or something like that. So he's going to be a really good player. But Ben Brown, their backup left guard, is probably an above average backup. So just knowing the ins and outs of my team, I don't think that's a significant injury. I do think that the left tackle, Will Campbell, is significant because Adrian Lowe, their backup, is not very good. A lot like a lot of backup left tackles. You know, when you lose your left tackle, especially a top 5 pick in the NFL draft left tackle, that's a pretty big loss. But I do believe he'll be back for the playoffs. It's just like the next couple of weeks that you have to pay attention. Jackson Dart is trending towards playing this week, according to the Big Blue Film Room on Twitter, so a Giants fan account. But I'll take it for what it's worth. He probably knows. Now, with the Giants, the interesting thing is, I think the wild card to this game is, do the Patriots run the ball? Because if the Patriots are able to run the ball well in this game, it doesn't really allow the pass rush of the Giants to be able to get going and get to Drake May. Now, Drake May, understanding that he doesn't have his backup, or he has his backup left tackle and he doesn't have Will Campbell, he's probably going to be better at moving, and Josh McDaniels and Doug Marrone, who are responsible for the offensive line and the protections, the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach, former head coach of the Jags, Doug Marrone, they're going to have probably a good game plan of like chipping and doubling that side and protecting Adrian Lowe and not allowing Brian Burns to just tee off the entire game. But Brian Burns has been one of the best edge rushers in football this year, you know, on a short list behind Myles Garrett for like second or third best edge rusher in the league this season. So that's a pretty tough matchup for the Patriots on that side of the ball. But by running the ball against the worst run defense in football, as we brought up previously in this video, they should be able to negate that. That being said, the Patriots are really bad at running the ball this year, and it feels like maybe Travion Henderson can hit some explosives like Jahmyr Gibbs did. He's has similar speed and similar pop, as you guys have seen against a team like Tampa Bay, but sustained success running the football for the Patriots has not been sustained. So a lot has been on Drake May dropping back and throwing. Now, maybe they just pick them apart underneath, but I do think the Giants do some things inherently that will give the Patriots some problems. They do have a good pass rush. They do play a lot of man-to-man, which I don't think the Patriots have like brilliant separating receivers. That being said, Drake May, for whatever reason, statistically has been good against man-to-man this year. I'm not really sure why, considering the Patriots don't exactly have Randy Moss and Jerry Rice, but they're pretty good, you know, against that coverage. So big plays against the Giants are definitely there to be had, which Drake May definitely is able to hit. And then at the same time, Travion could hit some big runs. So it's kind of like you're playing with a lot of fire, I feel like, if you bet against the Patriots. But at the same time, I feel like this is a game where the Giants could stay in it and could even, you know, maybe pull off an upset. Probably unlikely, but it probably should be within a touchdown. Like, so if I were to lean either way, I would take the Giants just because of the offensive line uncertainty for the Patriots, their lack of ability to prove to me that they can consistently run the football. The defense for the Patriots missing their best player, Milton Williams, probably, who last week without him, they did not look like the same run defense, and that might be able to open up some holes for Tyrone Tracy. The Patriots should overwhelm the Giants in the passing game defensively because they do have a really good secondary, and the Giants don't have very good receivers. But if Jackson Dart is buying time and running around and scrambling, he could make a couple plays on third down that shift the perspective of this game. So and keeps it close, right? And the Giants have been a team that have played up to competition. They beat the Eagles. They nearly should have beat the Broncos. They've hung in a lot of games, even on the road against teams that are superior to them. So the Patriots are certainly superior with an elite quarterback, but the Patriots have some critical injuries to their left tackle and their best defensive player that could keep this game pretty competitively played. So 46.5 is interesting. I would lean towards the over because I still suspect that New England is going to be able to move the ball, even without their left tackle. I think Drake May is just that good. It doesn't really matter. And they should be able to throw with success. So I think that May will find necessary points in this game to hang around 27. And then at the same time, I feel like the Giants, Jackson Dart and the Giants have been feisty. Their offense has been well play called. We saw them against two pretty good defenses in Detroit and Green Bay, put up some good performances and scoring about 20 plus each game, and then they had a good game against Denver. Like, the Giants have been pretty good offensively this year, despite losing a lot of personnel. And if they are able to have some balance up front and run the football, that's going to ask the Patriots to maybe overcompensate in that regard in a way that they haven't all year. So I would lean towards the over, even if it's like 27-20 Patriots. That could be a potential score, but I would lean over. I would also probably take the Giants at 7.5. I think that hook is a lot in this type of game. I would lean Giants, but there are uncertainties in this game. Jackson Dart's health, Patriots injuries, even like the Giants skill position injuries going to New England on a primetime game. But as a Patriots fan, I don't like facing this logo. I don't like facing this helmet. Growing up against the Giants, seeing those losses in Super Bowls, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. So I won't be betting this game. I will probably be maybe playing some props. But I totally understand if you want to jump on the Giants. I just would be a little cautious just because, like, the Giants defense could burn you in this game. But I don't know. It's tough. But that's why we talk about it, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Gronk, spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.